Well, hello, everybody. My name is Sean Cacaro, alongside Vincent Maskell for a jam-packed episode of the Pinstripes and Piledrivers podcast. Lots to talk about after the Raw and Smackdown of the Elimination Chamber. We're just going to jump right into it because we have a lot to discuss. First off, we're going to talk about the Raw after the Chamber, which had a lot of things happening. I think the biggest, most viral thing that was talked about during Raw, CM Punk cut a promo for the ages when he called out The Rock and he called out John Cena before a wild brawl ensues with Seth Rollins. Vinny, I'll let you go first. What was going through your mind? Now, obviously, we were streaming Monday, but when you rewatch this, what were your takes on everything that happened with CM Punk?
The promo was top 10 in my in my mind. It was a great promo. It made you feel a little uncomfortable, and then it made you feel like, man, he's real. It's raw. That's what a promo is all about. If anybody wants to take like notes on how to do a great promo, that's what you got to do. You got to make it real, raw.
Beauty of Netflix.
Make it a little bit right. Make it a little uncomfortable. The two bald frauds, thing, and then him just hitting his arm, saying,
mocking the goosebumps,
saying BS this and BS that. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. And that, there's nothing. I mean,
I honestly think some of that was real.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because we know how CM Punk really feels about The Rock, if you remember from 2013.
Yep.
2012. So
yeah, as one of
definitely a lot of
the pipe bomb promo. He pretty much laid into a lot of people in that one, the original
especially
one.
The Rock.
Then The Rock was apparently kissing Vince McMahon's, what?
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's everything I think we wanted Raw on Netflix to be in one promo right there. Like if 6 months ago you told me I will prove to you why Raw on Netflix will be better than on TV, I will say, all right, prove it to me, because I think like a lot of us, we hated the idea first of being on Netflix because, well, you got to pay for it. I mean, yeah, you got to pay for cable too, but nobody wants to pay for Netflix. Tell me why I should get Netflix to watch Monday Night Raw. That promo was exactly why. Full raw emotion, threw in his cuss words here and there. It felt real. It feels way more real. Obviously that's a term that has a lot of different meanings to WWE fans, especially with outsiders, but it felt real. And it just, like I said, everything about it, it foreshadowed a great future where now CM Punk versus Cena is almost certain after WrestleMania, whether that be for SummerSlam or somewhere else down the line. Now we know CM Punk versus John Cena's in the cards at some point, but also, Vinny, do you think there's a chance for Cena Rock 3? Because CM Punk did say he was coming for The Rock. Do you think there's that chance?
I think maybe after Cena leaves, there's a possibility. I think this year's going to be all about Cena.
Well, yeah, of course.
And I think they're gonna, and while it's going to be about Cena and
we
Rock.
got to remember something. The way it's going right now, Cena will not be there every week. We're learning that the hard way right now.
They're already talking about him like being after WrestleMania stuff.
Yes, which worries me if he wins the title, but we'll talk about that another time.
That's a big thing.
Man. Yeah, we'll get to that conversation another time. But like I said, it definitely set more of a what can you expect after WrestleMania. But I also want to talk about what it could lead to in the more immediate future, because obviously then we saw this wild brawl with CM Punk and Seth Rollins, which spilled into the back, which now leads to Adam Pearce saying, all right, I'm sick of everybody. Steel cage match it is at Madison Square Garden. I wish we could be there for it, but again, we got grown-up responsibilities.
It's
But,
sold out. By the way, it's sold out in about.
well, and you know why I think it might be sold out? The certain return of a certain tribal chief.
Yeah,
Maybe
well,
in the cards for this match.
Of course.
The way it sounds, obviously, it's not really the road to WrestleMania without Roman Reigns, right? So, with that being said, I expect Roman Reigns to somehow get involved in this match because, Vinny, you've been watching Raw a very long time. I've been watching Raw somewhat long time. You can't have a clean Raw match. Let's be honest. There has to be some sort of interference, right? This is too good for a match.
And I would have said the fact that it's in a steel cage match. I'm kind of thinking that they're going to have to get creative as to how this happens because it's either going to have to be like right before where someone gets attacked,
or after. Maybe
which
somehow
leads me to
ends up in
believe
a no decision.
Right. Which is there going to be a triple threat now for WrestleMania?
There almost has to be because, like I've said to you the last couple weeks, if you don't put Roman in this match, what do you do with Roman Reigns? There is nothing.
Roman has to have a place at WrestleMania.
So somebody, I read an article earlier today, which I actually it only brought me more into this story. Now, obviously, you and I both discussed it. We're not happy about it, but Jey Uso and Gunther is obviously not going to be a main event match. I just don't see that happening.
Well, according to Triple H, as long as they bust their ass, they might get it. But
if they can get people to buy in, I think they get it. But right now, nobody's bought in on this story.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think Roman versus Seth versus CM Punk is almost the perfect main event for a couple reasons. Obviously, it would be a night one main event because we know night two is going to be Cody and Cena. You have CM Punk, who's obviously who's been working for this main event spotlight for, what are we talking, almost 20 years now? And then you have this story with Roman and Seth that's been building for 10 years, 11 years now, which is also a continuation of last year when Seth cost Roman the title. There's so, and then of course, you know, when CM Punk left, remember CM Punk being the original mentor to the Shield, as CM Punk mentioned a couple weeks ago on Raw. I just feel like this is the perfect match for a main event with long-term storytelling that's been going for so long. This is the perfect way to end it. So I'm fully in favor of this either main eventing or at least opening one of the nights at WrestleMania. And I'm looking forward to it. Now, like you said, how Roman gets involved next Monday, it waits to be seen because, well, it's a steel cage. Do you get something similar to when Cody and Solo had their steel cage match and you had Roman, you know, then you had the whole bloodline get involved and then Roman had to, you know, he did his famous thing with the door. He slammed the door shut so he could be in the ring with all the bloodline members, the new bloodline members. I'm not sure, but nonetheless, I can't wait for it. Vinny, I can't imagine there's any reason you wouldn't be looking forward to it. Anything else you got regarding this whole story?
No, I mean we're just gonna be able to see what what's gonna happen from here. Again, I'm thinking that there has to be a triple threat at some point.
Yes,
and it probably will be at WrestleMania. I'm gonna guess that it would probably be the night one main event.
we're in agreement there.
If I had to take a guess at it, unless Jey and Gunther becomes like a thing that's like
that people it grows on.
You know, I and I hate to see Jey get pushed down again. Mm-hmm. But you know, from what I surmise, I think Rikishi even said, I was reading an article, you know, Rikishi said Jey looked very exhausted.
Yeah.
When they met up. So I don't know what that means, but probably means he's probably really tired after, you know, everything that's been going on with him. So
and unfortunately for Jey, it's a lot more negative publicity than he's been used to the last couple years. And
right.
You just hope that it's not weighing on him that his big.
But here's the thing: if you want to be the guy, man, you can't.
You got to prove it.
You got to prove it, and being tired isn't a.
I just don't think that we can't pin this on Jay or Gunther.
No, it's not, because they're both good wrestlers. I mean, they're both great.
Yes, they're both
but
great wrestlers. It's just
the story.
Triple H booked it too many times.
Right.
I mean, if you had this match once or twice, fine. But they have had this match, what, 5 times now, something like that.
Exactly.
And that's not even including the house shows. So,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I want to move along here because we do have a lot else to get to. I want to talk about the other big moment that happened on Raw. Io Sky defeats Rhea Ripley for the title after Bianca interferes, distracting Rhea. Vinny, you say this has to lead to a triple threat. And I agree. I don't see any other way you can do it. This just feels like such a letdown. One, I don't think I don't think Io should have won it. Personally, I'm not that big on Io Sky. I wasn't even that big on her when she won it the first time. But I just feel like this whole Jade, Bianca, Naomi story got completely ruined. I think that there was so much potential to make this such a better rivalry, and I feel like it's having its rippling effects now, and I do not like the way that this is going. Obviously, we still got, as of now, 6 weeks until WrestleMania, so obviously a lot can change. I don't know about you, Vinny. I don't like it. It's like I said, it's nothing against Io. Maybe it's just because I had my hopes set on Rhea versus Jade, or Rhea versus Jade versus Bianca.
Right.
The fact that Bianca doesn't have a story with Jade right now in terms of Bianca finally turning heel, I think was a massive letdown. What do you think?
So just keep me a little, I'm just kind of thinking of things here.
Mm-hmm.
What if, I mean, this Jade, Bianca, Naomi thing. Okay. What if I think you're going to get Jade, Naomi separate, obviously,
yeah,
from this whole
100%.
thing. But I think the way it ended on SmackDown,
Mm-hmm.
Naomi's probably really pissed at Bianca.
Well, let me ask you this, and we'll kind of tie. I know we were going to wait till SmackDown and talk about the Naomi thing, but we might as well tie it into this.
Right.
Too.
I mean, it's all. I think it all ties. I think.
Do
So
you
he.
think?
So
Do you think? So we obviously heard what Naomi had to say. Naomi said, "I did it for you. I did it for The Rock. I did it for you. Jade was holding you back. This, that, and the other thing. Do you think Naomi eventually gets to Bianca's head?
That's
And
what.
you
Okay.
think-
So this is where I was going. I'm going somewhere with the EO. So let's say this little tiff between the three of them brings in EO and brings in Rhea.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow.
Maybe
there's a bigger maybe with EO winning there's a bigger plan, is what I'm saying. I'm trying to think.
The only thing
You remember when Triple H said that he was the only one that knew that Cena was turning heel, that Cena was turning heel, and they kind of wanted to go opposite of everything, what everybody but that was out of necessity because The Rock can't be
because
WrestleMania.
It was announced that this heel turn wasn't supposed to happen until Mania. That was a last minute decision, which that's quite an audible. I'll say that.
So maybe, or I don't know, maybe you're thinking I'm overthinking it, but maybe there's a storyline with all 5 of them.
I just don't see how Rhea and Io stick to this story. I actually think
I don't see how Rhea. I guess I don't see. You're right. I don't see how Rhea and Io, other than bringing Bianca in.
I actually think either Jade or Naomi costs Bianca somehow, and then Rhea and Io kind of go off, do their own thing in terms of the title.
But I think there will be.
You get a triple threat at SummerSlam, which you might hope to be there for.
I think we get the triple threat at WrestleMania though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can keep Rhea out
Well, no, in
of a
terms of
title
WrestleMania, yeah, you have to have a unless they do the rematch on a Raw or a
because I don't think.
SmackDown.
Yeah, but I don't
That's
think
the
it's
only
just.
way they can do it.
Yeah, I don't think it's just going to be. Although Bianca should be pissed if they bring Rhea in because she won the Rumble and she should get a one-on-one match with Io.
Yeah. Well, and
So
you think this could have been a foreshadowing her heel turn for
so
the
do
fact that Bianca did do kind of a heelish move there, distracting Rhea.
but do they do the thing they did with the New Day and they turn Bianca heel with Naomi?
That's what I think.
And
I actually think Naomi called her never mind, I won't repeat it on here, but
yeah,
Naomi, honestly, it sounded like it was actually to try to really help Bianca. Maybe Bianca at some point realized that maybe if Jade tries to help Bianca and it ends up costing her the title, that leads to the heel turn
yeah.
at
I
Mania.
just because a
But
lot of people
you would
were
need
upset
outside
that Bianca didn't
interference.
turn heel. Right.
Like the only way that works is if Bianca's about to win and Rhea is salty about it and she helps Io in some way.
Right.
There's a lot of ways this could go. Like I said, actually coming up with some suggestions like that make it sound a little better. But
Yeah, but I mean that's what I'm
immediate
saying
right
is
now, just it doesn't leave a good taste in my mouth.
because you've got Charlotte Tiff on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much taken care of itself.
Yeah.
But then you have like, and this is totally not, a part of this, but it might be. They're talking about bringing WWE Evolution 2.
Yes, I heard about that, which I do like. I think
Where
that's a
the
good
women could
idea.
have their own pay-per-view, which I love that. I
Yes,
love that.
if for those who don't know, the first one that they did, they did it because when they were doing the shows in Saudi, the women weren't allowed to compete, so that was
Right.
their way of giving the women their spotlight. That obviously,
And that was actually a pretty good show.
yes,
I
it
thought it was
was.
a good show. But I don't know. It's just this is just I think I want to say there's a grander plan for this whole thing. I know you don't like Io being champion, but I think there was a bigger cause as to why she became champion. I think.
Yeah, which I hope you're right. And like
Because they don't just hand the title out at Raw
no,
or SmackDown.
no, and you know what?
Because of nothing.
And that's a spot where I tend to contradict myself. Where I may not like a decision, but within 2 months from now, me and you could be talking about, oh, what a great pivot this was or whatnot.
Right.
So,
Just like, everybody.
but if you want my immediate reaction, I'm not a fan of it. But.
You're not a fan? Okay. No, I get it.
So, next thing we'll talk about, before we talk about SmackDown, there's been a lot of news regarding a certain rap star. Travis Scott has made a lot of headlines about his Elimination Chamber appearance. One that questions why they needed him, because he didn't even perform Fiend. He just kind of stood there, danced to it, and then walked out with The Rock. And then during the attack on Cody Rhodes, Travis Scott smacked the living you-know-what out of Cody while he was on the ground. Some reports say he burst Cody's eardrum. Others are saying it wasn't all that and people were overreacting. Whether it's true or not, whether he actually did hurt Cody or not, we won't know unless Cody says it himself. This Travis Scott stuff really is it's such a bad look to me on the whole, because this John Cena heel turn, WWE is already calling it the greatest heel turn of all time. And this is going to be a moment that me and you, Vinny, are going to look on the rest of our lives as, oh, wow, do you remember where we were when we were streaming and we saw John Cena kick Cody Rhodes in the nuts in his final year and we finally got the heel turn? And then there's Travis Scott. Like, it sort of dampens that moment a little bit, because then there's about, oh, yeah, well, you remember when Travis Scott was there just because? I don't know. Vinny, what is your, like, did you like or did you dislike Travis Scott being there? Do you think there was more to it? Because apparently he wants to wrestle, and like you were telling me before we started this, apparently he has pissed off a lot of wrestlers already.
So I'm not against. I mean, I go back again. I go back to the '80s when they brought like Cyndi Lauper and all those people out to be like managers and stuff. It's okay if you're out there. It's another thing when you actually take part in.
Yes.
When you're a celebrity. And I understand the Bad Bunny stuff. Like they're trying to probably like, but then maybe give Travis Scott a match before he gets involved in anything, because according to what I've read, he's selling T-shirts now that says
Yeah, I saw that too.
wrestling isn't fake or something like that, or wrestling is real, whatever it said
Right.
on the T-shirt. So it's hard to not believe that maybe it was for a reason, to help Travis Scott. Maybe The Rock was doing Travis a solid. I don't know.
Right.
But all as I know is nobody took kindly to it, and it looks like Travis Scott has heat within
Right.
the WWE.
I agree.
And Bully Ray came out on Busted Open and basically had
tore him a new one.
And Travis Scott, if you ever see Bully Ray on the street,
Mm-hmm.
turn the other way.
Exactly.
He's gonna,
if you don't know, we're talking about rewatch Busted Open.
Yeah, he's gonna pop your jaw out.
Yes. So obviously, like you said, Travis Scott causing big problems.
So to answer your question, no, I did not like it. I did not
Right.
like the fact that he was there.
I want to find a fan who did like it.
Unless
you're a Travis Scott fan. Unless you're a Travis Scott fan, I don't see how anybody.
And even if you are a Travis Scott fan, it's like, did you even know he was going to be there to watch?
Yeah, that's true. Because I don't remember him being advertised.
I don't remember him being advertised either. So people that weren't, so it wasn't like they were trying to get people from outside.
And I hate to sound like a hater, but Fiend did not sound good with the Rock's theme song. I don't care what anybody says. A lot of people loved that intro. I did not. Yeah. I mean, those are two very different genres of music that you put together, and it did not sound good.
Yeah, matter of fact, I didn't even know it was the Rock's theme playing during that song.
So it did the original Rock music when he was a face. Then obviously when it does the lightning, it cut to
final boss.
It cut to Fiend, and then it went to his Hollywood Rock song, which it just it didn't sound good. Like I said, a lot of fans loved it. Unpopular opinion, I did not. But
they have a guy back in Gorilla that actually does all the. He's apparently a professional that mixes all the music as they come out.
Right. Well, they're also under a lot of heat themselves because everybody wants Jim Johnston back. But that's obviously, I don't think that ever happens.
But I mean, if the end game was give Travis Scott heat with the WWE, check. Give Travis Scott heat with the WWE fans, check.
Wrestlers, check.
And I don't know. Maybe Cody's downplaying it for a reason, because they said he's downplaying it, and that it wasn't a big deal to him.
Well, that's who Cody
is. Maybe it is a big deal to him.
Yeah, again, that's who Cody is, though. He's not that type to. He's not that type to hold grudges. I think, if that's the right way of putting it.
No, I don't think so either. But again, I just think, or maybe we're going to see something happen at WrestleMania with Travis Scott. Who knows?
So moving along. We're going to move into SmackDown now, and we'll start with the show open. Randy Orton, obviously not the same thing as what CM Punk did, but had a very similar style to his promo, calling out John Cena, and then obviously calling out Kevin Owens, and then he throws in the quote of, "I'm going to make sure Pat McAfee remains the second greatest punter in WWE history." So entertaining stuff. I said to you on the off the air, I said I think this is probably the closest we have seen to the old Randy Orton. I just want to ask a question before I get your thoughts on how that whole segment went. My question to you is, where does Sammy fit in all this? Because it feels too late to give Sammy a new story before Mania. How do you get Sammy involved with this? If he gets involved with this, or do you just give him something completely new?
I don't know what else new you could give him. Maybe we'll find something out in Raw tomorrow, but I seem to think he's going to probably get in the middle of this between KO and Randy.
I have a proposal. Sammy guest referee.
I mean, that's possible.
I actually think that's kind of a good idea. But
I
don't
I'm
know
not
that
really
they do that.
I've never been a big fan of the special guest referee ever.
It has its moments.
It has
Honestly,
its moments, but it doesn't really mean as much as it did back in like the Attitude Era when like you had like Stone Cold special guest
or
referee
The Rock.
with the Rock's matches and the Rock doing it and Shawn Michaels doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little different back then. I don't think they use it right anymore. I don't think they use it the way that.
Let me ask you.
But that's a different subject. But I man, it's going to be tough to like. Maybe Sammy like interferes. Doesn't interfere, but
so I'll give you another suggestion.
Saves Randy at some point.
Somebody brought up. I'll give you another suggestion. What if this isn't just Randy versus KO? What if it turns into a tag team? You would have Randy and Sammy versus KO and who?
Randy
and Sammy versus somebody and Kevin Owens. Who would be that somebody? That's the $1 million question.
Nobody actually has
because honestly, most
interacted. He hasn't interacted with anybody, but he hasn't interacted with anybody to make it seem like it would be him and anybody else.
Right. Well, I mean, we still got 6 weeks until Mania, so that could all change. Or maybe it's a return. Maybe it's a return.
Would it be him and Drew?
No, because Drew's gonna have his story with Priest, so
that's
I don't think that would work.
That's right, because Priest busted out and
I'm trying to think
Drew this week, but I can't think of anybody off the top.
Well, like I said, they could surprise us with somebody.
But I think Sammy like saves Randy somehow, and
maybe he tries for another, because obviously I don't think this should be a regular match. This has to be some sort of Extreme Rules or they're in Vegas, make it some whatever you want to name it, type of street fight, something like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of previous matches that Orton's been in.
The only ones that make sense have their own story, whether that be somebody in the Cody story or whatever. None of them really make any sense. But hey, again, there's still 6 weeks for them to cook something up. Maybe you make it a triple threat. Maybe Sammy doesn't want Randy involved somehow, or maybe Sammy thinks, Randy, why'd you help me? I would have taken him this day, because you know how Sammy is. He's so maybe you make it into a triple threat. Who knows?
Well, you got to remember, Randy saved Sammy from getting.
Well, that's what. Yeah, but
so I don't think Sammy would come back and say that to him.
But you never know, because Sammy's a hothead. Sammy thinks he can do everything by himself.
Yeah, I know. I don't. But
that's the only thing I could think. Unless you get.
I just don't want them to like shoehorn him in, like, and give him nothing to do. Or
because that's a problem. What else can you do with Sammy?
I mean, maybe you write him off. Maybe you write him off until I don't know.
Yeah, but that's he was main eventer 2 years ago. I don't think you can leave him off.
But he doesn't really. The only story he has is in this story.
Then they have to figure something. Like I said, there's got to be somebody that could team up. I'm sure there's somebody that we're not thinking of that teams with KO. Maybe it's a return of somebody, or
well, you're not going to be able to get it. So they're not going to be able to get everybody into WrestleMania. So I don't know.
No, but Sammy's too big of a name to leave off.
I like Sammy and everything, but if you left them off WrestleMania this year, would the fans?
I don't know. I think
that they would like riot.
I think they would be not. I don't think they would be happy. I will.
mean,
You got to remember,
where
wrestling fans are
WrestleMania's in Vegas,
impossible to
right?
make happy.
No, I know, but I mean,
I think you have
I
to
don't.
get him in somehow. I say you make it a triple threat, but
No, I mean, I don't think you make it a triple threat because he has nothing to do.
so what do you? Okay,
He
so
has
what would you
nothing
do?
against Randy. I mean,
So
why would
what?
he want to fight Randy?
Okay, so then what would you do? Because
That-
that's what I would do.
I personally, this is why I'm not in charge of the WWE. I wouldn't have him at WrestleMania.
Yeah, you're gonna
I
be a
wouldn't have
harsh universe mode person. I could tell.
I wouldn't have a
When
story.
we start
I wouldn't have
streaming,
a story for him because you can't put everybody in. You know, you like
well, you can't. But you got 14 matches to work with.
no, I know, but I mean, he
What do
just
you? I mean, unless what do you do? Put him
and
in
it,
the
but
battle
it,
royal? The
but but the problem is that the way they wrote the story and they did that match
mm-hmm.
is that now I I can't think. I mean, I guess
I
I
just don't
can't
think
think
it's
of it.
over with him and KO because
Well,
KO
maybe, but
still
it'd probably
tried
be
to
after.
injure him.
Yeah, I think it's gonna have to do after WrestleMania. I think.
Maybe. I mean, unless maybe a post match thing or something. I
Well,
don't know.
maybe he runs in at during WrestleMania and saves Randy. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean that's what I would say. If he has a part at
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania, it's going to be very small. It's not going to be
Right.
very. It's not
All
going to
right.
be big.
So we'll agree to disagree. We'll wait and see how the next
We'll see
few
how it
weeks
works.
play out. I want to move it along. Next topic I'd like to talk about. I don't really want to spend too much time on this because there wasn't a whole lot to take away other than it was a very good segment
Mm-hmm.
amongst Cody Rhodes. He came out, called out John Cena on his attack, and he said it best. He goes, "I want to know exactly what the fans want to know. Why? Why?" And I think we all want to know what Cena's going to have to say. Unfortunately, we still got to wait until the 17th when they're out in Italy or wherever it's going to be, one of those European shows. Um, he said, he quoted Cena. Cena told him after he beat Roman last year that that title would feel heavier every day. And Cody said, "Don't feel that heavy to me yet." And Cody finished off by insulting Cena with "If you want some, come get some."
That's right.
Vinny, what did you think of Cody's promo?
I thought Cody that was probably one of the better ones that he's made, other than I believe it was the one in AEW
I
with
keep saying,
his brother. I think it was, or
Vinny,
his brother. I
and
think that might.
because you've known me for a while now,
Uh-huh.
I have not been the biggest fan of Cody, and you know that. But
Right.
when we get an aggressive, angry Cody,
Mm-hmm.
if we get more of that, I'd fully be behind him.
Right.
If we can get more of this Cody Rhodes, like what we got versus Roman Reigns, like versus The Rock last year, I'd have no problem with Cody Rhodes.
I think you're gonna because I think The Rock and Cena are gonna kind of cause him to be a little more mean.
Yeah, like last year. So, like I said, I didn't have too much to take away from this because obviously, again, we're not going to see Cena for a little bit again. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, I do want to throw this in here. I know it's a little off script, but I don't know if you saw, but I read something earlier. Apparently, Cena's going to shave his head completely bald to reach because he wants a complete character change.
Right.
You like or dislike the
Well,
idea
the
of
only other thing
Cena?
that would be more ridiculous is if they put him in a suit and
Yeah,
bald.
that's gonna be stupid. You know what else scares me too, though, is if Cena does the heel thing of like when somebody first turns heel and they just doesn't say anything. That would
Right.
be disappointing. And if they go down that route, I think they're gonna have a lot of backlash because
Yeah, because Cena's not the type of guy just to kind
to
of.
not say anything like he did at the press conference.
Mm-hmm.
Me and you were talking about it earlier. Cena on the mic is arguably the greatest of all time, or at least one of the greatest. He's the only
Yep.
one that could really stand up to The Rock, and he's cut some of the greatest promos of all time. If you have Cena not say a word, that is almost criminal, if you ask me.
Right.
I don't know that you would disagree with that. It wouldn't make sense to me.
Well, yeah, you can't. I mean, you can't be on. I mean, yeah, you're right about that for sure. I agree with that. But I don't know. It's just a weird. It's
You got what you could.
He's gonna be it's gonna be weird because no one's seen it
Yes.
until
Nobody saw it coming until
since he first came into the WWE.
22 years.
He was a heel when he first came in.
I was 6 months old last time he was heel.
Yeah, last time he was heel, Rikishi was a wrestler.
Yes, and Umaga was a wrestler.
So
it'll definitely be interesting.
Do you remember? You remember? I believe they had a list of when he turned heel. The match he turned heel was again. I think that was his second match. Was it Billy Kidman?
I don't remember.
It was either Billy Kidman or I don't remember.
I'll be honest, I don't know.
Because I think Billy Kidman might have been his first match.
Right. Yeah, see, the Ruthless Aggression era, I'm a little lackluster on in terms of my knowledge. I was a baby at that time, but
yeah. Well, if we get somebody in the comments below can kind of say what that was, but
nonetheless, good promo. Obviously, it's most you're going to get until we do see Cena. Last thing I want to talk about regarding SmackDown, we saw another title change. I say it's a big title change. The title he should have never lost. LA Knight defeats Shinsuke Nakamura to win back his title. Now, the way I look at this, Vinny, like I said, he should have never lost the title. Had Shinsuke at least been defending his title, I wouldn't care as much. But obviously, Shinsuke did not do that. So, LA Knight gets back the title, as I said, should have never lost it. Do you think we're done with this rivalry? Because I have a take that I'm going to throw in here that you may not agree with.
I think for the U.S. title, I think it was necessary for LA Knight to lose it and then win it back. I think it gives him a little more. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Gives it a little. I mean, it gives him a little push, more of a push. And I think they're trying. I don't know why to push Shinsuke though.
It's what, like I said, I just when he returned, obviously it got a better pop than I think people realized, than the WWE realized. They're not using him right. Had they used him right, I had no problem with it. I would have had no problem with him taking the title. I would have had no problem with him keeping the title because, like you said, LA Knight shouldn't have had it, for that long because he's had it since SummerSlam. But they're not using Shinsuke right. Now, my next point is, I feel like Shinsuke is obviously going to do a rematch unless they have buried Shinsuke completely. Here's something I want to bring up to you. And like I said, you might not agree with it. This might actually be a similar argument to the one we just had over Sami Zayn. I think Jimmy Uso is due his first singles championship, much like Jay, because Jimmy Uso, obviously we've said before, we both agreed, they screwed up his bloodline story when they broke him out of the bloodline only for him to find his way back in. Obviously, it worked out in the end with what happened at Mania, but still, I feel like Jimmy got screwed a little. We missed out on a big opportunity to see singles Jimmy. Singles Jimmy has actually been very entertaining the last couple weeks. I don't know how much of SmackDown you've watched over the last couple weeks, but Jimmy Uso as a singles competitor has been very entertaining. I think Jimmy is due for that U.S. title. But the thing is, you would have two baby faces fighting. Now, granted, LA Knight has his beef with the bloodline. Do you agree that Jimmy should win this title? Or do you think it should be after Mania he should win this title? Or do you think he shouldn't win it at all? And
who's the Intercontinental Champion?
Braun Breaker.
I think we go there. I don't think we go US. I think we go a little bit bigger.
Well, the only issue with that is Breaker's on Raw. Jimmy would be on SmackDown.
I know.
They claim there's still a brand split, but you and I see it differently.
I know. I guess the Intercontinental. I guess I hold the Intercontinental Championship a little bit higher than I do
The U.S.
U.S.
Yeah, I
title.
think that 10 years ago we would have been saying that a little bit differently, but right now, yeah, the IC definitely feels like it has a little more prestige to it.
Well, I mean, back in the 80s, it had a lot of prestige. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, that
look at the
used to be
guys that
one of
held it.
the titles.
Greg the Hammer Valentine held it. Tito Santana held it. I mean, those are guys that, I grew up with. Those were good wrestlers.
Yeah, and even if you look at the Attitude Era, there were big wrestlers that held it.
Yeah,
The
and big
Rock
people
and
The Rock held
Stone
it.
Cold and
Yeah, I think even didn't Austin hold it at one point?
yeah, Stone Cold held it at one point. So
So
I agree. I think the IC right
so I,
now is a little
so
bit
I,
higher.
I would hope they wouldn't hide the title behind a brand, but maybe they are.
I think they are.
Maybe US. So if that's the case, then yeah, probably the US title. I mean, that's why I said I'd probably go a little higher. But again, if they're
When Jimmy and
splitting the
Braun would
titles
actually be a good
between,
story.
well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like I think that's the better story and the better title to me. But if you have to leave him on SmackDown, then I would go, yeah, that would probably be a great fit for him. But maybe we're not done seeing. Maybe LA Knight loses the title again. Who knows?
Well, that's what. Yeah, and you know what? Like I said, LA Knight, he had his run, and I feel bad for LA Knight because he obviously he is a very big fan favorite who. It feels like there's really nothing they can do with him. Obviously,
Well,
you
because
can't
he's
put him
not.
in the.
He's not ready for the. Or well, I can't say he's not
No,
ready. But
he's ready. It's just he has no involvement in either story.
Yeah, I just
And
don't
you
think.
can't,
Yeah.
it felt like that, they put him in that Roman situation and they set him up for failure. That's the way
Well,
that felt.
He saw they saw how people were being like so amazed by him
Yeah.
that I think they kind of rushed the
It almost
story.
feels like Sammy towards the end of the Bloodline story the first time,
Right.
where he peaked just a little.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd
A
say
little too
too early or too late there because obviously
But it's
Cody
funny
was already
because
there.
LA Knight's been in wrestling forever though.
Yeah, he's not a young guy.
He's not a young guy. He's new to the stardom. He hadn't had the big,
Yeah,
the big
he
pop
was a
as
security guard not too long ago.
yeah. I mean, and I believe he was in TNA a while, like a long time ago,
Yeah.
like a really long time ago. So and then he was like that stupid character with Maxine Dupree. That was like the worst storyline. I don't know whoever thought that storyline up with the male models. That was like the worst. And I'm not saying
still
it's
is.
because it was male models. I just saying
It
that
was
it was not a good story. It was bad.
bad.
Okay, people. Anybody who wants to write in the comments, oh, he's anti whatever. No, I'm just saying the storyline was terrible.
Yes, and it was.
Nowadays you have to like preface everything by like, I'm not against male models. I'm just saying,
it's not for wrestling.
It's not. But not even. It's not for wrestling. The storyline was stupid. If it was a male model story and it had a better story, I would have been okay with it.
Right.
But it was just not a good storyline. It was just
No, it
bad.
wasn't.
And they ruined Maxine Dupree in the process too.
Yeah. That's a shame because she actually has talent in the ring.
Yeah,
Obviously, people have been very critical of her. I see the talent.
But the funny thing, and then they moved her to another storyline where she was like the punchline, which
still is.
I mean, yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I mean, they do really good things with their stories, and then they do like one or two bad things, and then I know the one or two bad things get like put up there.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm the one bringing it up. So
yeah.
But LA, I just I love LA Knight. You know that.
Yes.
I just think that he kind of, like you said, he peaked a little too soon.
Well, I think they pushed him too soon. Also, I don't think he should have been somebody to go up to Roman. I know people wanted to see him versus Roman, but nobody went into that thinking he was going to win.
Yeah, you got to give
everybody knew Roman was not losing his.
The best
title.
storylines are when you know that the person on the other side has a chance at least to beat the other
exactly.
guy.
And that was the problem with a lot of Roman's rivalries, if you think about it. We all knew he wasn't losing to Sammy, even though the Canadians were rooting for him anyway.
Right.
It's just
Well, and that's different though. Like when Ray beat did he beat Batista for the title?
you would know
Who
better
did he
than me.
he beat well, obviously he beat someone big, like
You did Kali, Great Kali.
literally. Yeah, but I mean like it's okay to have like the underdog thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
But
if
not
you
when you're
when you
talking the greatest title
but
run of
not when
all
you're
time.
talking about right, but when you're talking about a guy like as like
Big.
statuesque as
Mm-hmm.
LA Knight against a guy like Roman, and you already know that LA Knight's not going to win. That's
Yeah.
what I guess we mean about
Yeah, that's what we were
not
getting
like
at.
the little guy against the big guy and the little guy wins and we never thought he was going to win. That's a totally different thing.
Yes.
I mean,
It
people
was a
did
it was a fan favorite that everybody wanted to see him
right,
beat
right,
Roman, but
right,
reality set in that we knew who was going to win.
right. So, would it have been a great surprise to see him win? Maybe not, because a lot of people still wanted Roman to
Well, because
hold
there
the
was a lot of
title.
story to tell with Roman, whether it was the
Right,
Cody Rhodes story or,
right,
we never got a finish to the Randy Orton storyline with Roman or,
right.
something
Right.
else.
Well, there's a lot, but see, with Roman's kind of a different animal because there's a lot of storylines that need to be
Yeah, there's still plenty
like
that
I don't think he'll ever retire finishing all of his storylines,
no,
honestly.
no, because if you think about it, there's still a storyline. Obviously, he still wants his rematch with Cody. I don't think it should ever happen, but there's
Right.
still the chance for a rematch with Cody.
Mm-hmm.
You got a match with Punk at some point, Rollins at some point, which we expect both those to
And
be at Mania.
does he fight Cena at some point?
I think he fights Cena at some point.
Because one of Cena's better promos,
And he's feuding with Roman's cousin. So,
right? But
or no, I'm sorry, joint forces with
one of his better promos was
1, 2, 3.
I've already seen the guy. You're not the guy.
Yeah,
When they signed the that for the title, I think.
you talking SummerSlam 2021?
No, I think
Or are you
Roman
talking
was
Big
still.
Dog Roman? That crappy
I'm
storyline.
talking more big dog Roman, but Roman was kind of a heel, kind of sort of back then. He was still wearing
Yeah,
he was
Big
still
Dog Roman.
wearing. Yeah, he was.
Are you
Yeah,
talking when he was with the Shield?
no. This was after the Shield.
So then this was their first match. You're talking No Mercy.
Yeah, probably, but it was a contract signing,
Yeah,
and he
that was the promo when
yeah
Roman forgot his lines.
yeah he because I know Cena's like oh I always hear about this. There's this guy that's
Yeah,
gonna be,
that's the one.
and then basically he just eviscerated Roman
Yeah,
like
but then they kind of concluded that story in 2021 when Roman
yeah
buried Cena at SummerSlam.
that's
So
true
I
that's
just
true
think, well, in
that's
terms of unfinished stories, you still got a Randy Roman storyline at some
true.
point. We got a but let's getting back to the point.
Hmm.
LA Knight wins the title. I don't know that it was the right move. Okay, let me rephrase. It was good that he beat Shinsuke, but what does this mean for the future? I want to see Jimmy Uso win the title. Again, I'm biased because of the bloodline, but I think Jimmy is due that singles title run at some point. So we're gonna finish it off here. We got one last segment to hit. This one is, I know for 100%, this is gonna put us over the hour mark. This is
Yeah.
gonna be Vinny's segment. I will give him the spotlight for this.
Hmm.
Vinny, take it away. I will put in my input throughout, but this is your segment. I will give you your spotlight.
So we're talking about CM Punk's promo being. I was saying it was probably going to be in my top 10, and I'll go over my top 10. I do have one honorable mention. And I was alive for all of these. This is how old I am. Okay, so you know, back in 1985, I was a 12-year-old kid, and I watched a guy by the name of Dusty Rhodes give his Hard Times promo when he was setting up a fight against the great Ric Flair at the Starrcade then pay-per-view.
Yes.
This was a promo that hit everybody because he's talked about because Dusty Rhodes was always the American guy, the
Yeah.
American man,
Trying to
American
achieve the
made,
American dream.
trying to achieve the American dream. His Hard Time promo hit every.
It hits your soul.
It hits your soul, basically. So that's kind of outside my top 10. So we're gonna go to number 10, and I'm gonna put in where I think CM Punk's promo goes, and I'm gonna tell you which one I replaced. So I'm gonna go over the top 10. I guess I'll go over the top 10 first, and then I'll tell you which one it replaces. So I have Bray Wyatt's "Thank You."
Yes,
back in late 2022.
When he came back, talked about how the fans saved his life and everything, and I think we all still look back at it now as one of the more hard-hitting promos. Also, I will tie into Bray Wyatt real quick. A lot of people are saying he was right about John Cena. I don't know if you saw any of that, but if you go back and watch Bray Wyatt's promos against Cena, he was right. Thank you, Bray. We miss you. We really do.
Well, some would say CM Punk was right too.
This is true. I'll never forget Vinny that what was it, the 2 days after Bray passed, we had to go on the air and talk about. Oh, that was probably our toughest show we ever did.
Yeah.
But
I
agree.
A lot of people talk about this promo when they talk about tribute video. They put tribute videos together. This is this is basically his thank you and farewell to the WWE, basically.
Yes.
Rest so this peace, one, Bray Wyatt, this one has to be top 10. Number 9, I have the Macho Man, who, by the way, the Macho Man was a treasure back in the 80s. He was like on again, off again with him and Hogan, and it was just crazy. But the one that I point to is the cream of the crop, and the reason why is because it was, number one, it was one of the funniest promos ever in WWE history. And it was one of his most iconic ones that actually wrestlers had been into, imitating throughout the years since it's happened, because during the promo, he constantly reiterated because Mean Gene Okerlund did the promo, and he constantly reiterated to Gene that he was the cream of the crop. And every time he did, he took out one of those little coffee creamer cups of creamer, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm the cream of the crop." And he'd take out a creamer and he'd throw it out and he'd go, "Oh yeah." And then it was just pretty amazing. And I will put like 7 seconds of it up just so people, maybe in editing, so that people know what I'm talking about, because some people that are like, your age probably don't remember this.
Yes.
But this was after he lost to Ricky the Dragon Steamboat at WrestleMania 3. This is how far back it goes for the Intercontinental Championship. And by the way, another guy that held the Intercontinental Championship, Ricky Steamboat and the Macho Man Randy Savage. So that was number 9. Number 8 was AJ Lee, and you may remember this one. The burial of the Divas era. While she brutally lit into the Bella Twins.
That was a great rivalry. That was such a good rivalry.
She basically dealt with the whole Diva roster at the time. And she did it all in about, I don't know, 10 minutes.
Nobody gives her enough credit for the start.
It was her version of the pipe bomb.
Yeah, nobody gives her enough credit for the women's revolution, whatever we're calling it.
Yeah, but she did what Punk did. She blurred the lines between that kayfabe and real life thing, calling out the Divas roster, as well as all the dealings in the WWE with the female talent. So she kind of like mixed everything in one, and it was a really great promo. If you haven't watched it, again, I may play about 7 seconds of it on
when we edit.
When we edit. So number 7. So number 7, you could have picked many by this gentleman, because he's to me, he's the greatest wrestler of all time. That's Ric Flair. This promo was the paying homage to the man promo after the Royal Rumble. He had Bobby Heenan around him. He was being, it was after the Royal Rumble. So basically he's saying, I'm coming at, Hogan and Savage, and he's coming after everybody. He proclaimed himself the best wrestler in the company because he beat Hogan, he beat Piper, and he beat Savage in that same Royal Rumble. So that was his basic, and he had many promos. Like in WCW, he had the promo where he basically took all his clothes off and said, Bischoff, if you go to commercial, I'm gonna be here naked. And he kept and he just like kept going, and he kind of blurred again. He blurred that. Is this real? Like, is he really, Eric Bischoff?
Those are the best moments.
Flair was one of the best, and he literally took off all his clothes. He did he gave
I feel bad for anybody sitting in that crowd though.
He gave an elbow to his shoe. He took his wingtip shoes off and flung them into the crowd. Ric Flair, one of the greatest promo guys we've ever seen. Number 6, and you'll agree with me on this one, Paul Heyman. But his shoot on Mr. McMahon.
Oh yeah, that's a given.
When he joined, I believe this was when he joined in 2001.
Yep. Ponytail Heyman.
He was told beforehand that by Mr. McMahon not to hold anything back. So he dug into the family, Linda, Stephanie, Shane O'Mac, everybody.
Triple H.
He went into, he just railed everybody, and it was probably one of his best promos. And Heyman does great promos, by the way.
And he still does.
And he still does, right. So that was number 6. Number 5 is Mark Henry's retirement speech. You'll remember this one.
Oh, yeah, that I remember. I remember watching that.
It got everybody all sad. He's retiring. What's going on? And then all of a sudden he drops the hammer on John Cena.
Yeah. The fact that they tried to do the same thing with AJ Styles was...
Right, but this was the original
so predictable. This one, Mark Henry's was...
This one was so
still
good.
the best.
Yeah,
by the way,
2013,
I'm going to just throw this in there. Mark Henry also has one of the most underrated theme songs of all time.
Oh, the
somebody's going to get their ass kicked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Although, that does not, like, when people talk...
I play that one. I play that one in my car all the time, bro.
I play that in the gym when I walk in the gym.
Yeah.
So you can't...
somebody's going to get
You can't have the greatest music from WWE conversation without Mark Henry's. I do not care what anyone
That's another
says.
We'll do another top 10. The greatest
3-6 Mafia.
The greatest entrance songs in WWE history. Okay. This one's number 4. And I added this, and this list had been made up by me before I saw the CM Punk thing. So you got to remember, this was The Miz talking smack to Daniel Bryan. And this is on Talking Smack. And the reason why this was so great was because he basically went low on Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan went low on him.
It's set up for Bryan's return.
Right, but The Miz like literally told him, like, you are telling me that I'm lazy, that I'm, what about you saying, oh, I promise I'm coming back? This was one of the best, like, blurring the lines promos that I've ever seen. And the Miz is pretty good at it. The Miz is pretty good at doing promos and
blurring those lines
and blurring the lines and being, now he's pretty much the funny guy. So
yeah.
Number 3, got to remember now. Shawn Michaels has had many, but this one was later in his career when he was fighting Hulk Hogan. He goes to Montreal. Who does Montreal love? Bret Hart and Hulk Hogan, and that was the perfect storm for this one because Bret Hart laid into the Montreal fans, he laid into Bret Hart, and he laid into Hogan. All 3 of them, and Montreal hated it, and they booed him, and and basically Shawn Michaels came out and said, "Who's your daddy, Montreal?"
Yep,
that's all he needed to say, and he basically said, "Bret Hart's not coming out. You have the showstopper, the main event."
And they were booing so loud that place was shaking.
That place was, oh my God, it was one of the best promos I've seen Shawn do. Even though his DX promos were probably better as far as like funny, but this one was just like brutal. Because he had just turned heel. Because when he fought Hogan, they were like, oh, what are we gonna do? We got two faces facing each other. We got to turn somebody
Somebody had to
heel.
be heel.
Hogan's already pretty much at this point in 2005.
Yeah,
I'm
he
pretty
was
sure
at the end of his career.
He's done NWO, so he's done with the heel turns. So we gotta turn Sean back, and so they turned Sean heel, and he basically said he screwed Brett. To all those Montreal fans, man, it was brutal. It was a brutal night in Montreal. So number 2, CM Punk, the original pipe bomb. When he basically went down to the ring, Cena had just gotten his ass kicked.
Yeah, he cost Cena his tables match. I think it was against R-Truth.
Cena's laying by a table or on a table. He's like laying next to a table, through a table. CM Punk runs down or goes down, is down on the thing, grabs a mic, goes back to the top of the runway.
I hate to interrupt you, but I'm going to throw in another honorable mention. When he called Cena the New York Yankees, that was iconic as shit.
That was iconic, I think, for us being Yankee fans in New York.
Yeah, but
even
then, that Boston crowd was livid.
Yeah, that one was good. I mean, again, CM Punk's had so many.
Yes.
But this one, to me,
this one's still the best.
I think this one went into details of like all the meta of WWE. Talked about how Punk will never be as good as Cena because he didn't schmooze up to Vince McMahon the way The Rock and Hogan did. And he didn't say schmooze. He basically said
kissing ass.
Exactly. He also referenced Brock Lesnar, who had left the company like 7 years prior.
And they started talking about wrestlers that had left the company. Like
he talked about New Japan, right?
Yeah. Right. What was his buddy's name? Colt something.
Colt Cabana. He talked about
Cabana. Okay, I wasn't sure if I had
gave
that
a
right.
shout out to Colt Cabana. Right.
The Gallows and Anderson before they were a thing.
Right. So he basically words that are quoted today in the WWE.
Yeah, best in the microphone, on the microphone in that ring, even in commentary.
This was one of his greatest promos. That's why I have it at number 2.
Well, then you can't forget too him calling out the fans, saying you guys aren't innocent in this either because when I leave, you're still gonna fund this damn company.
Right.
And then especially it went over the top when he said, "I'd like to think this company will be better after Vince McMahon is dead," which is funny because he ended up being wrong about that. But because Triple H, he called Triple H's doofus son-in-law and daughter, whatever. Yeah, that one. And then when he tried to tell the story about Vince, then they finally.
Yeah, I believe they cut it.
And it was a funny lead to next week because then he came out with the bullhorn.
Right, exactly.
Or the big microphone. Yeah, mega mic.
So this had a lot of repercussions because in the WWE he had because it not only blurred the lines, it had the illusion that it was fake, but it wasn't. It was real.
No, it was real.
He even said later, I believe, in an interview that that was all real. Yeah, that was all realistic. It was all real. It was all from him.
A lot. You got to remember, most of his pipe bombs were not scripted because if you remember, after that whole Cena Yankees thing, Vince was literally going like this because Vince was pretty much saying, "Hey, you're going off the script," and Punk did not care.
Well, and Cena, when he would get in the ring with Cena would be like when he said something like that was off script, you could tell Cena's like reaction.
Yeah.
To like, oh, okay, so we're playing that way now. Okay.
Yeah. So and Cena's one of the few people you do not want to play that game with.
Right. And then number 1, of course, the dawn of the 316 era.
Oh, 100%.
Stone Cold and
316 was born
after the win at the King of the Ring in '96. Told Jake Roberts, "Get that sack of crap out of my ring." And you talk about your John 3:16. Well, Austin 3:16 says, "I just kicked your ass," and that was it for Stone Cold. Basically, that was and he said that it was seen as a throwaway promo. Little did he know.
Yeah, exactly.
That was more than a throwaway.
And something tells me a lot of those quotes are going to be coming back this year at some point.
Definitely.
Especially the Punk quotes.
Yeah, the Punk quote. So everybody's gonna ask now, where do I put Punk's promo
On
from
Rock and
Monday night
Cena.
on Rock and Cena? And I'm gonna replace, and this you may agree, you may disagree. I'm gonna replace the Miz at number 4, and I'm
Well,
gonna
so
put him
okay,
at
I
number
gotta ask
4.
a question though. So when you say replace,
I'm taking,
you're
I'm
just taking it
moving.
completely out, or are you just moving it down one?
Well, because okay, so
Because that would mean then that now you're saying if
I
you
would
take that one
move.
out, everything else is better than
Well,
him.
yeah, because then I'd have to move Bray Wyatt out, and I can't do that.
Right.
So I'm gonna replace it totally. I'm taking it all the way out.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it probably behind. I'm probably gonna put that one behind Dusty Rhodes in the honorable mention.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it don't. I think CM Punk's was more
Real?
real. And I don't think the Miz actually, like, I mean, whereas this was good and it launched Daniel Bryan to come back and all this other stuff, and that was the reason why the Miz did it, because he knew Bryan was, I'm sure he knew Bryan was going to come back, and it kind of launched Bryan to come back. But
Mm-hmm.
I still think that CM Punk should replace this one specifically in my on my list.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I don't see how I could disagree. I mean, the big thing with me is this not only set up for. I mean, we already know what his WrestleMania is going to be. It's going to be something along the lines of a triple threat, but he planted the seeds for up to almost a year of storyline because Punk had said when Cena announced his retirement, I want to have one more match with him. Now you have that in what will probably be the greatest farewell tour of all time. I'm going to go out and say it now because we all know it's going to happen. I mean, we're already off to a fantastic start with the Cena heel turn, but also foreshadowing the idea of a possibility of Punk finally getting his revenge after The Rock cost him, what would we say, 3 main events?
Yeah.
You got the 2 WrestleManias, 28, 29, and obviously he got hurt, but Rock taking, well, I guess it was, so 2 main events. So and again, like I said to you earlier, that was real in my eyes because we know how Punk feels about The Rock. We know how a lot of people feel about The Rock, but especially CM Punk, because Punk's the only one that made it known. So I think it is the realest promo. Obviously, aside from like a welcome back or a dream type of, in terms of a wrestling story, this is the realest promo we have ever had.
So here's a follow-up question to you. Would you put it now? I love Shawn Michaels, probably one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. That's why I'm leaving him at 3. Would you put him behind his original pipe bomb promo
Yes.
at 3 and then move Shawn back? Or
No,
would you put him at number 2? Would you put it at number 2 in front of the original pipe bomb? Because I don't think anybody should be replacing the Stone Cold one. I think
nothing
Stone Cold
goes.
stays at 1.
The Shawn Michaels promo is way too iconic to be moved out of its spot, and the same thing with the pipe bomb. Those will be remembered for years. I'm not saying that this won't be remembered for years, but I just don't think it has as big of an impact as the other 2.
Right. Whereas the Miz one, I didn't think had as much impact.
I think it would have had a bigger impact had Daniel Bryan not gone to AEW.
Yeah, that's true.
I think had he finished his career with WWE and had a better send off.
Well, what does that say to the Miz? The Miz is probably going to end it. Well, I'll guess that the Miz will end his career in the WWE.
Oh yeah,
because I don't know if anybody in AEW actually, because he's kind of a punchline there.
Yeah, well, yeah, we've heard that one too many times.
So and he's pretty much MJF's punchline because, although I would like to see MJF versus the Miz. Anyway, I'm going off on different things, but yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I replaced the Miz is because probably, Daniel Bryan, that also going to AEW didn't help this one age very well. So yeah, that's kind of where I do it. But yeah, I see where you go. And then, I'm not. I hate to move anything back because I didn't want to move Mark Henry back. I didn't want to move.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to move the Heyman one
Well,
back.
like they say,
And
records are
Flair
made
had
to
more
be
than
broken.
one that I could have put in here.
By
Flair
the
had
way,
another one that I could have put in there.
when I had a few myself that I think I would have
Yeah.
thrown in there,
Yeah.
I'd mentioned it to you earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Any of Cena's promos with The Rock, I think, could have been, especially when Cena called out The Rock on his.
And you notice I don't have any
BS.
Cena promos in here, by the way.
Or Rock, which
or
I was
Rock ones. Yeah.
kind of, like I said, you've been a wrestling fan a lot longer than I have. Like I said, if I did my own list, it'd be a lot more recent.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want to finish off with this one last thing we'll talk about, kind of talking about Cena.
Mm-hmm.
Ric Flair is making news again.
Oh boy, that's right. I've seen
He
this.
does not want Cena to break his title record.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope I'm not talking this into existence. There's no way Ric Flair gets involved with this, right? I really hope he
Have you
does.
seen him? Have you seen him recently? I saw him do
I watched him wrestle like a couple years ago, and it was the worst thing
Have
I
you
ever
seen
saw.
him? Have you seen him recently?
No.
I saw him in an interview. He doesn't look like he can wrestle again, man.
But maybe he doesn't wrestle, but they could still.
I mean, he could
try
come
to,
back.
but
he could smack. I mean, he probably smack Cena around a little bit.
It just kind of goes to show who Ric Flair is, because obviously we know he's not that good of a person.
I would rather see Charlotte come up and smack his ass.
That would be kind of funny.
For her dad.
Yeah.
But
Cena deserves the record more than Rick does. I'm sorry.
He does, but I always thought that Triple H deserved the record.
Well, you ask me.
Ago,
You know how I would like to see Cena's final match going? It's really not possible unless Randy Orton wins the title, loses it, wins it again, loses again. I would have loved to have seen Cena's last match be versus Randy Orton. The winner breaks the record, but obviously, I think Randy
that would have been pretty amazing.
That would be, but again, Randy would have to win it, lose it, and then compete for it again. Obviously,
how far is Triple H tied with Flair, or is he one behind?
Let me look it up.
Yeah, while you're looking that up, I want to say he didn't want to surpass him because I believe he said something about, Rick deserves the record. I don't, because I think Vince wanted him to surpass it.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken. I don't know.
So Flair is ahead of him by 2. Flair has 16. Triple H has 14.
Okay. So he was never really even close.
Yeah.
I mean, he was close, but he wasn't. Because later in his career he wasn't. Yeah, but later in his career he wasn't going through another title run at all.
No, because if you remember, Triple H had a title run pretty recently.
Well, he had it later than a lot of people had because he won it as like that was the head of final
cap to the authority story between
the head of when he was the head of the authority he won
so it
because he interjected himself. That was so good.
I say it to people all the time. Everybody hates on the Big Dog story. Not everything that Roman the Big Dog did was bad.
Right.
I think that gets a lot more hate than it should.
Listen,
some of it is justified. I'm not saying it's not.
His rivalry with Baron Corbin was totally underrated. I thought that was a great rivalry.
Oh, you're talking the dog food rivalry?
Yeah.
You know what?
I love that rivalry between him and Baron.
The rivalry wasn't bad. The dog food was stupid.
The dog food was dumb, but hey, listen.
But it set up a cool story with the Usos coming back.
The Usos came back, right?
Yeah. So like I said,
it was a good story. But
I didn't hate, and I thought, oh come on, you can't tell me Roman and Braun Strowman was not entertaining to you.
Yeah, of course.
I thought that was an amazing rivalry, even though. Again, me being a Roman fan, Roman getting his ass kicked every week by Strowman was a little annoying. I thought the story itself was entertaining, but I digress. That will put a cap on this long episode. I think this.
Yeah, very long. Sorry, guys.
We knew it was coming, but this was an action-packed week. So
yeah, and maybe we do top 10s for something Sean wants next week.
Yeah, hey, you know what? We could. You know what? I think post WrestleMania we'll have to have some stuff like that because there's that little dead period between Backlash and Money in the
yeah,
Bank.
I'll let you. I came up with this top 10. You come up with the next
Well,
one.
I like your idea. Maybe next week we will do top 10 theme songs. How's that sound?
Top 10 theme song. Okay, top
Unfortunately,
10
we can't
entrance
play them,
music.
but we'll talk
Right,
theme
top
song.
10 entrance music.
Well, no, I'll make it more. I'll make it a little bit better. Won't have to just be wrestlers intros. It could be show themes too, because there are a lot of iconic show theme songs that I think.
You mean like just the like the WrestleMania 41 theme?
Yeah. So if we'll make it a more broad variety because there's so much great music.
Yeah,
and if you're a metalhead or if you like rap, there's so many good mixes.
Yeah, let's let's get some comments down in the.
Yeah, so Vinny, we could do it one of two ways. Top 10 best of all time or our top 10 favorite all the time. I'll let you pick.
Because I mean, it would have to be our lists. So it would have to be like, I guess they're our opinions, so they would be our favorites anyway.
So it'll be favorites, but because the most iconic versus my favorites aren't the same, but we will dive more into that in our show next week. Thank you again to everybody who will tune in. Have a great night, morning, afternoon, whatever time you may watch this. We will see you next week. Just a reminder, too, next live stream will be a baseball stream when the Yankees take on the Baltimore Orioles in the spring breakout this upcoming Saturday at 6 o'clock. First pitch, 6:05. We will be streaming it. We hope to have the Big Blue and the Bronx crew with us, and then we will go from there. Have a great one, everybody. We will see you all Saturday night.